Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Girls Peace Talk. I'm Angel, and I'm a teen ambassador as well as a youth ambassador of GPI.
Hi, I'm Abhilasha, and I'm a youth ambassador and a teen ambassador as well. I'm from India. The Girls Peace Talk is an online series of informal conversations to understand how the individual level of peace influences our external peace as well. This conversation is by girls, and we will basically be discussing the situation of girls and choosing a separate theme for every episode. For this episode, our theme is gender equality, and we will be focusing on the stereotypes about girls and boys in our respective countries.
So, to begin this episode, we'd like to start with a song that teaches you that you are stronger than what you think, and that you have to keep faith in what you believe, and that we have a lot to fight for. And to prove that in this world of about 7 million people, each one of us is unique, and that we have to make a mark in this world. Although we may only have one match, we can make an explosion with that. So here's the song.
So that was a beautiful and amazing song, Angel. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now we would like to begin with the peace talks for girls. So over to you, Angel. What are
Um,
some things that you noticed in your neighborhood and in your school or country?
yeah, well, personally, like in my house, I've not felt like many issues or something that a lot of people face. But one thing is there, like you saw that I play the saxophone earlier. So in that, like, I've heard a lot of comments from people, or like, people have questioned me, like, you play the saxophone? Like, and because like saxophone requires like using a lot of breath, right? So like people believe that the stereotype is there that like not girls don't play like saxophone because it requires a lot more effort than your average instrument. So that is one thing. And other than that, I don't think personally I've felt any problems as such. I've been fortunate enough to have a good family. Yeah, but other than that, like, I live in UAE currently. And I've seen that, like, some of my friends, like, their families still have that old mentality that, girls shouldn't have any particular job after their classes. Like, after class 12, they get married and then they're off. Their life is over, like taking care of kids and all. So they're not allowed to pursue further, like even if they want to. So that is one thing. And we see a lot of superstitions within family, like within families in India as well. We see that if a girl has her periods, then she shouldn't be going out or talking to people, like sometimes stay closed up in a room or don't go into any holy places and all. So Abhilasha, can you share some experiences that you've known or of your own?
Similar to you, Angel, I also had a really nice childhood, fortunately, and my parents were not as stereotypical as other Indian families. I shouldn't be saying this, but a lot of Indian families have these stereotypes and this thought that girls are less qualified than boys. And I personally have always hated that. Since I was a child, the one line I was always hear from my relatives, or from strangers meet on the street or overhear conversations, was that you're a girl, you can't do that. And you're a girl, should be able to be respectful. You should not raise your voice. You should never oppose anything. Agree to what your husband says, agree to what your father says. You should not have a say.
Like, do this, do that.
Exactly. Act this way, be prim and proper. And
Posh.
nowadays, so many people have all of these issues. Like, if somebody's slightly fat, then they're going to be body shamed. Like, you should try to reduce your weight. That's not going to be beneficial for you in the future. People don't appreciate.
They're like, you're going to be married off soon, so you should have upper body and all that stuff.
They shape out your entire future for you, and the biggest part of your life is your marriage, and that you should be able to find a good husband. I mean, that is literally what they feel is most important. But nowadays, that's fortunately changed here a little bit, at least. The percentage of girls that are going to school has increased. I personally love that my friends' families have a very open mind. They're totally supportive of their daughters and their sons doing full educations, and they treat them equally most of the time, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, so let's move on to like in society, like aside from like our personal things, like in society, what are some stereotypes or like some differentiations that really what that you really hate or like that you would like to change?
Right. So I'm in 11th and I know you're in 12th. So you must have noticed this as well. So my parents told me that instead of looking for a degree, you should be thinking about your job prospects. So I was looking at all these jobs. And the one thing I noticed was that no matter which field I choose to go in, I will always be paid less than my significant other co-worker who has the exact same qualification as me. There is absolutely no difference, but there will always be a gender pay gap. No matter where I go, it fluctuates. Some fields have a less gap, and some fields have a huge gap. I mean, it's almost double the amount of pay that they're getting is going to be double for another male. Just because he's not a female, he's going to be paid double the amount for the same work he's doing, for the same hours he's putting in, despite the fact that women have to contribute more at home as well, because you have all these social duties as well.
Yeah.
And you have all these other issues that you have to face, like harassment in the workplace. You have to go home, take care of your family. You have to think about all of these things that men don't even consider. If you look at the statistics as well, there is like 2 out of 3 males have a family with kids, and 1 out of 3 females have a family with kids, because they don't stay working after they get married. They leave work, which should not be the case.
Yeah, even not only in the case of pay, we see it in the case of roles as well. Like, in a company, they generally prefer male leaders or bosses in their in their vicinity rather than any female leader. So like nowadays, like that's somewhat changing, but still it needs to go a long way to become somewhat equalized. Like You know,
I mean, women make up 52% or something of the population, which is more than men. But the higher up, I don't remember who said this, but the higher up you go in your qualification and in your standing, the less females you find in the position of power. And that should change because that is not all right.
yeah, and
I mean,
it's also like somewhat kind of like you see that like throughout the world, like even in this present scenario where we have COVID, like we see that a lot of women leaders have been able to kind of like uh, hold like COVID like at the initial stage itself rather than letting it spread so much. Whereas like, I mean, not that nobody else is capable, but then like, there's more percentage when you take it.
right, right.
Then
And I personally was thinking, sorry, yes?
one more stereotype which I hate a lot and I wish that people would change is this: girls have pink and boys have blue.
I agree. Oh, it is exhausting. I mean, I personally, as you can see, my favorite color is black and my second favorite color is blue. I absolutely resent pink, okay, and red. I have hated them and I've never used them in my life for anything.
Whenever whenever some family members or relatives or friends, be it whatever it may be, whoever comes, okay, they come with a pink frock. And we're like, why pink? Why not any other color?
I know. What is wrong with that? I mean, you should not put gender on a color. That doesn't have any logic behind it.
Yeah,
I mean, all those baby showers that you have, if it's a boy, then you have blue, and if it's a girl, you have pink. I mean, I don't see the logic behind that. I have
there
no idea why this.
are other colors in the spectrum.
I know there are other colors. I mean, a person might like yellow, a person might like green. What are you going to do about it?
I mean, even shade doesn't vary. That's the thing. The
I
shade is
know.
orange, pink, and light
I
blue.
know. Right, right.
Okay, so let's kind of move on with the topic. So yeah, what else is there? Um,
When I was told about these talks, I started thinking about like personal incidents that I had witnessed in which, there was like sexism, or, there was a point in my life where I noticed that women were not going to be respected as much as a man. One thing that I remembered was that whenever we used to go out to eat dinner or, go to a mall or something, and we see this man at the front door or the waiter if you go to a restaurant, he's always going to greet my father. He doesn't look at my mother or acknowledge her presence or ask her if she would like to, place an order. He'll always go directly to my father as if he is the head and he has the authority. And I have never seen the sense in that because I mean, at least it made me feel so invisible because I felt like if my mother, instead of my mother, if I was sitting there and I was being ignored, I wouldn't want to be in that position in 2 years, in 10 years or so. I mean, that just felt very harsh to me.
Yeah, and even in the case of sports, we see that sometimes we see boys play sports all the time, and like girls are always with makeup and all that stuff, or girls are
That's a
like
stereotype. That is not very true. Most of my friends are very, very into sports, and a lot of boys actually in my class are very frail and they're not very into sports. All they do is play video games, which is also another stereotype. I myself love to play video games, and that is a thing that many people find strange. Exactly like your incident with the sax. People ask me, "Oh, wow, you play video games." I mean, that's rare. So I was
Yeah, and I am pretty sure like even you would we've talked before. So like I play badminton and I'm really good at it. And similarly, I believe that you are as well, through our previous conversations and all. So I mean, when you say that you play a sport, they're like, oh, you play a sport. I mean, not like, oh, okay, fine. It's good that you play. Like that judgmental thought is there all the time with girls. With boys, no problem. Whatever they do, it's like pretty much okay, fine. He does that. He does
I
this.
know. It's like their gender gives them the right to do everything that they want to.
Like boys are like almost capable of everything, girls have limitations, but that's not true. Girls also can excel, like in some cases far more than the boys. In many, like we see that there's a lot of women idols who have crossed the man's limit.
Yeah. There's this one thing that I always found so strange. In the Indian culture, especially, you're told to learn how to cook from a very young age.
Yeah.
They pressure you. You need to
And
know how to cook, so you can take care of your family. And
mhm.
you're not told that if you're a boy. If you're siblings, not in my family, my brother is still asked to cook, but in a lot of my friends' families, if they have a brother, their brother is not asked to cook while they are. But if you look at the statistics, the chefs in the world are in a majority of men, and they are less for women. And I don't understand that conflicting thing, that if you get paid for a job, men are going to take it. And if you have to do it without a pay, then women have to do it naturally. I mean, it's not a thing that's debatable. It's just, there, and you have to follow it.
Yeah, that's what, like from the small age, like in some places, like some places they say, like if a boy comes running into the kitchen, like mama, I'll help you, they're like, no, get out, boys are not supposed to be in the kitchen, you're supposed to be out with your dad doing something. And in the end, when a guy becomes a chef, it's like, oh my god, he's a chef.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I
So
mean,
now,
you have these gender roles that are assigned to you from day one, and you need to follow them. Like if you're a parent, then it's natural for the mother to leave her job. She has a job as a mother. She has another job of hers, and she needs to look after the family as well. So she should leave her job instead of the man helping out half the time so they can both do their job. That always irritated me because, I mean, that's senseless as well. They're both parents and they should both be equals.
hmm. And in US also, like I mean, in US, I've actually seen the opposite, which is like really inspirational at times, because like in my mom's hospital, she used to work. Like we were in Philadelphia at that time, so she used to work in a hospital, and over there, most of her colleagues. Okay, most of her colleagues were females, and they were working while their husbands took care of the children at home.
That's a very nice thing. And not in extremity, but I feel that it should be balanced and
It,
that both should look after their children equally.
it's supportive that like they're actually cooperating, and like all of them, they're doing all the work together, like in happy families and all. That's good.
Yeah, and that's progressive.
Yeah, so now let's go on to how we can like reduce this gender gap, or how we can kind of like spread more awareness regarding it. So your views regarding this.
The first thing, and it might be a bit cliche, but is awareness. If we have like awareness campaigns or something, people can gain more awareness and they can basically understand exactly why gender equality is such a necessary topic. So there was a person I was talking to once, and they knew that I was a feminist. So they asked me, why exactly do you think females need to have equality in the society? Aren't they equal already? And I was so shocked. I was like, you you think we're equal? I was actually very happy, that they thought we were equals. But the problem with that was that they didn't see the issue in society, the mindset of the people and the stereotypes. They were blind to that. So I started explaining to them, but it turns out that they didn't really understand what I was saying, and
Mhm.
I have no clue how I could have explained it better.
Because mostly like like some people might be like thinking about their thoughts, like some people might be really open to all of this, like like girls are fine, like
The thing, I started explaining it to them, and they told me, but yeah, that's natural. I mean, a woman should leave her job. She shouldn't work in the first place. And I was so taken aback. I was like, which century are you living in?
How is
Like,
that? How is that equal?
I know. And they were like, no, that's equality. They're equals in our eyes, in the eyes of God, as they say. But
Uh, yeah, always play the God card.
always save me
Uh,
from everything.
Women are made for doing this, and men are made for doing that. It's God's will.
Yes, indeed.
So, some other ways, like, the social media is playing a really important role in everyone's lives at this point. Like, even right now, we're talking through social media, and, it's a great medium to spread awareness regarding things rather than, like false news or all that stuff. Let's try to make use of whatever social media privileges that we have. Like Youth Visionaries is one page which I'm part of. So, and even GPI is also another platform which you can use to share your opinions regarding such issues and spread awareness regarding it.
The
Then
GPI community is actually very nice for discussing all these topics because you can come up with innovative ideas and you have a lot of perspectives from so many countries across the globe, and you can just, all have a platform to talk about it. And it's a very nice thing.
And then, like last in the previous episode, Siddhi and Shreya, they were talking. That's also a very good point that we can go down to each village level because, like, in the villages and all, like, although nowadays development is
But
happening,
as she explained in the last episode, going down to the villages level doesn't always help. If you remember, she said that giving them education, giving them the opportunity. Like Siddhi was giving them the stationery, the books, the
yeah.
education. She was welcoming them into her house and just giving them a chance to become educated. And they didn't want to come. So there needs to be a change in the mindset of people.
Mm-hmm. That's why we need to spread, like, through social media we spread awareness, and like through, like,
Awareness is not the only thing, as she said. We need to go to basically, we need to have policies from the government that actually support this. So there's this case that I read about in one of the courts that an African American woman went and she was talking about, she filed a lawsuit for an employer that was not giving her a job. And she said that this is in violation of my rights. This is discrimination. And the judge said, ruled against her favor, and said that he has African Americans that are working in his workplace, and he has women. What he failed to understand was that you couldn't have grouped them together. He didn't understand that there was an interlinked discrimination that the person was doing indeed, because she was African American, and that there was nobody in that workplace that was African American. They were African Americans, but they were males, and there were women, but they were white. They were not African Americans. So there was a discrimination there, but the judge was just not ready to listen, even when she explained it.
And some other ways are like, when we talk about this, like, within the family we have to start, like, from the basic root of the child. Like, as we told earlier, like, boy children are taught to stay away from the kitchen, and girls are told to do this, do that. So that has to change from the family level, like in the
Another
family.
thing that boys are taught is to never cry. And they have to be masculine. They have to never show any emotion. And that keeps bottling up, and one day it is taken out on one person. That is not all right.
Yeah, and
They
that
should be allowed to express themselves freely because they are humans too. And humans feel emotions, and they shouldn't be restricted to
yeah
crying or laughing or discussing topics in an empathetic way.
yeah, like, bottling up these emotions, like, they might turn into anger, rage, hatred, all of these negative aspects. And where does this
Violence.
all
There's a lot of violence because of toxic masculinity.
all falls upon the family, the rest of the family. Like, sooner or later it falls on. Like, we've seen, like, many cases, like, throughout the world we see such cases. So everything has to begin from the root of the family. And rape cases and all, they say women should dress properly.
I know, I
But
hate that. Why don't you teach men to control their desires and to, respect women, not see them as objects, see them as individuals instead of telling girls not to dress the way they want to. Women that are not dressed in short clothes, that are dressed fully clothed as well, in casual clothing, they are raped as well. So you can't exactly blame our clothes for this. The only
Exactly.
person to blame is the rapist, not the person who is raped. The victim shouldn't be
Mhm.
humiliated of something
So
that wasn't even want.
yeah, so from the family level, this should be brought up. Like, girls should be taught as well. Boys should also be taught equally in such a way that boys respect girls and girls respect boys equally. And in schools also, they can apply it. Like, there are periods like moral education and all that, right? In all
True.
of
This
those,
is a misconception as well. Many people think that men are of a higher standing, and there are some people who believe that women want to be at a higher standing. But what everybody should understand is that if we can achieve equality means a man is equally competent to a woman, and a woman can do exactly what a man can.
yeah.
They can be greater qualified or less qualified for it depending on their potential, but their gender should not restrict them.
And although women may not be as physically strong as men, women are mentally strong as well. Right. See,
That is
woman bear, like during pregnancy, women can bear a lot more pain, like equal to
have
all
a
the
higher
men
paid performance, yes.
breaking. Yeah. So, like with that, imagine what all benefits can be done to the society with that mental strength. Like, leadership requires a lot of mental stability and focus on uh, whatever you're doing. So, bringing up women, like we see a lot of policies around the world saying like 50%, I mean 15% of the seats should be there for women, stuff like that, but that's not really happening. So such things should be implemented, and we
There
should
is a
see.
there's a bill in the Indian Parliament as well, which has not been passed yet. But
Yeah,
there were many attempts that were made to pass it, but it's still not been passed. So
yeah.
there are various improvements in the Indian society. At least we have equal representation of women in the village level, at least. But in the Parliament, we have not yet achieved that.
Yeah, so like
But education
even,
level is lower here. Women do not go to schools. They drop out for various reasons, including the mindset of their parents, as well as other factors that they don't need to learn. They don't need to study. They can just get married, as you said.
mhm.
These stereotypes are still there in India, at least.
Yeah, so even like we see that India has a lot of rules for such things, but then they're not being implemented. So they should all be implemented as well.
Indeed.
Okay, so now let's just talk about another stereotype that we have. Like we see that like when a girl walks late at night or a girl doesn't reach home by a particular time, then like
But
then questions arise, or like like if a person that knows you is on the street, like for example your uncle or someone is out on the street at night, and then he asks you, where are you going? Why are you out at this late time? Go home. It's not safe out here, right? But
And
then
rightfully so, especially in Delhi, it's very unsafe for women to go out past 8 or 9. I am not even allowed to go out of my house. I would not feel comfortable going out of my house alone either, just to go to the nearby shop and to buy something from there, because I would be afraid of whether I would be able to make it back home either or not.
let me just stop you there. Like this is a question to the audience. Okay, you guys can leave the comments down below. um what's your comment regarding this scenario? I mean, girls are as human as boys, right? And when a girl walks, it's a problem. When a guy goes around, it's not a problem. And girls are afraid because of issues like rape or kidnapping and all that stuff, right?
Violence.
But why does that happen? Does it happen because of the girl's upbringing or because of the boy's upbringing? Right? Because when you're brought up, boys and girls should be brought up equally. As in, the boy should be taught to behave at late night, girls should also be equally done. Not like only girls are supposed to stay early, like go home early or something, and guys can do whatever the hell they want.
It's
I mean,
important to teach girls to be cautious, but it's also important to teach guys how to be empathetic and to teach them that violence is not the option and that they should be as polite and respectful as their female members of the society.
so yeah, let's wrap up this session. Like,
Yeah.
to conclude, what have we talked about today? We've talked about like what are the issues that we face, like our personal experiences, family, friends, and even societal issues, and how we can solve them. Okay, first of all, by spreading awareness through social media or personally to people, to villages, helping people out in the villages, like education
Changing the
and
mindset of our society and working actively towards reducing the stereotypes that we discussed.
yeah. At a grassroots level, like starting off from a family, building up to schools, and then
To the
outside
society.
external experience, that exposure that you get, and higher levels like equality in the leadership roles and job places as well. So yeah, it was a great talk with you, Abhilasha.
Likewise,
And
likewise. It was wonderful to talk to you today.
yeah, hope to meet you one more time
Yeah,
sooner.
definitely. We
And
can do this.
yeah,
So this
thank
was the second episode, and there will be a third. So
you.
I'm
Yeah,
excited to see what they talk about that.
yeah, stay tuned. The remaining rest of our friends will come to you with more topics related to this. Stay tuned and stay safe.
Thank you for watching.
Bye bye.